Alrighty, folks, it's been a while since I've done a movie review simply because I've been really, really busy. I've seen a lot of movies since my last one, but this is the one that I feel the most passionate about. Um, Medea's funeral. I look forward to Tyler Perry's movies. I enjoy Medea's as a character, but in this particular film, it was missing a lot. Let me just sort of break it down. Let me explain the story to you, and then you might understand why I sort of feel the way I feel. You got a family who's trying to have an anniversary party for the matriarch and patriarch, and you've got dysfunction sort of in the midst when it comes to the siblings, and then the sibling in-laws. And so right there, that's sort of where it's like a disconnect where you've got all these people sort of putting their opinions into a certain, it's going to get convoluted relatively quickly, and it does. And so you've got three siblings, two brothers and a sister, and then you've got the older brother's wife, who you don't find out that it's the wife until like 45, 50 minutes into the movie. And you just think that it's, like the older sister, the way she's acting. And when they're like, oh, well, she's married to the older brother. And I'm like, wait. She's married to the older brother, so she's a sister-in-law. They don't come out and explicitly say that. I mean, I was paying close attention, and I never heard them say that. So that was a shock to me. It's like, okay, well, she's not the sister; she's the sister-in-law, which sort of like confuses you because she's so in tune with the family, and the son she's married to is not. And I guess that was supposed to be the point. However, the son that she's married to has got so many things going on at once that that's sort of a minor, like, something you wouldn't really pick up on unless you cared, unless it hit home for you that you've got a son or a family member that's disconnected from the family. That right there was like, okay, whatever. You've got the mother and father that they're throwing the anniversary party for, and on the surface, they appear very like together. They're so in love, laughing, holding hands at their age, according to the characters in the movie. They've been doing it forever, and the old man's cheating, and he ends up dying because he ends up cheating with the siblings, like family friend, longtime friend. So it's like the three siblings, like school friend that they've known since they were like kids together. She ends up sleeping with their father and like having some real like kinky sex in the hotel. And out of all the hotels, she ends up meeting the older brother, or she ends up seeing the older brother there with the younger brother's fiance. See, it's a mess. It's a bunch of like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like I'm trying to explain it to y'all, and I'm confused trying to explain it because it's just so much. You've got the older brother cheating with the younger brother's fiance, even though the older brother is married to the one chick that acts like the sibling when she's just a sibling in law. If you're still with me, congratulations. I'm over here trying to explain this shit, you guys, and I just don't know how this ended up being the final product because it's just so convoluted, and it's hard to follow when it's not delivered correctly. And in my opinion, it wasn't delivered correctly. You've got the guy who's cheating, the older dude who's cheating. Then you got the younger dude who's cheating. Then you've got the younger brother's fiance who's cheating, and it's just this giant cheat fest. And so we're all waiting for it to boil down and come out that they're cheating. Along the way, of course, you got the characters who figure it out. The Madea main characters figure it out like real quick, but everyone else who's in the family, apparently they've got their blinders on, and they just don't get it. They don't put two and two together until like maybe a good hour and 10 minutes into the movie when the sister, the middle sister, the actual sister, was like, you know what, something's not right. Like, what's going on between you two? Yada yada yada, figuring stuff out. And that by that point, the dad's already dead. He's already been cheating with on the like the older lady, his wife. with the longtime family friend of the siblings and ends up getting a heart attack, dies, and it's just a bunch of stuff. And I was trying to figure out how this became a movie, and I still don't understand how. There are a lot of great points to make in this film about loving yourself, about respecting others, respecting yourself, being in touch with your family, but it was all delivered piss poorly. And I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can't really. I don't know. You can't. I guess you can't complain if you're not a director because I know a lot of work went into this. Tyler Perry plays four characters in this, and he probably had his hands full. Medea, Joe, and Brian are all characters that we're used to. Then they've got Heathrow, which out of nowhere is Joe and Medea's brother. And they bring him up, they talk about him like he's always been there. But either in Medea Goes to Jail or some other Medea movie, she's talking to a judge and talks about how she takes care of Joe and how Joe is her only brother. Then out of nowhere, she's got Heathrow. And Heathrow is supposed to be the older brother. I'm not sure where he lies in the Medea universe, but the fact of the matter is that he's there. They just created him, and he isn't a very good character. He's not a very developed character, and I personally didn't care for him. However, he was necessary because he introduced us to the family with all the drama. He was the link because apparently his wife, who has passed since before the movie started, was married to either the sister or the brother of the older people who were supposed to be really in love, but really their marriage was garbage because the old dude was cheating on the wife the entire time. I think that's how, but see, I'm saying I think because I don't know. Like, this was never like established. It was so hard to follow who was married to who was associated with whom, and I just don't know. But that's how Heathrow. That's why Heathrow was important. There was a lot of things that he did that I guess were supposed to be funny that just weren't. They were jokes that fell flat in the theater full of people. No one really laughed at what he had to say because it was really, really like stupid. So you've got Tyler Perry's Joe and Medea character, and their sort of comedy is like in your face, kind of vulgar, yet at the same time, like they're just jabbing at each other, like they're talking smack to each other. This dude's comedy, I don't know what it was. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't stupid comedy. It wasn't sophisticated. It wasn't sarcastic. He was just trying to make jokes. I guess like an old person would make jokes, trying to impress young people, and they just didn't hit. They just didn't hit. They were just bad. My mom, who loves these films, didn't like this film first off, but she also didn't like him as a character, and I agree. He wasn't very good. On a side note, there was a scene in this film that my mom was like, "Oh, that was just filler." At the same time, it was so damaging in this social climate. You've got Tyler Perry, who for whatever reason decided to have the cops pull him over with a car full of black people, and everyone in the car, all the older people were like, "You better gun it, you better go, this is going to get crazy." And Brian, being the lawyer, is like, "No, no, 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 we've got to follow the law, they're here to protect us, yada yada yada." And then the cop is extremely like over the top aggressive. Personally, if I were a white individual, that scene would have made me feel really uncomfortable because I'm not sure why they put it in there. That is not how all black people see the police. And to sort of portray that in this film, where it's going to be mostly, projected towards black people, it's going to have a really negative effect. This scene was something that happened to me in real life. It's very personal for me because I was pulled over once upon a time. I knew to stop the car. I knew to, of course, and then, turn off the engine, roll down the windows. But this cop in the movie made a point to tell them, turn off your engine, do all of this, and, let me see your hands, yada, yada, yada. This all happened to me before. They didn't tell me why they pulled me over. The cop just had his lights on, I turned off my car, rolled down the windows, and I waited. And nothing was happening. He was just behind me. Then I see another cop car pull up across the street from me. So if I'm here facing this way, the other cop car came from like opposing traffic, and he stopped over there. And then another cop car pulled up behind him. So there were three cops following me or pulling me over. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? I didn't know what was happening. Maybe I was driving a car that matched a description. I don't know. But they never told me. The cop got out of the car. He had his hand, I saw this, had his hand on his weapon as he approached me in my vehicle. My hands were like this on 10 and 2. I'm not playing that bullshit. And he leans over. He's standing like in the back window, but he leans over and all he says was, I need your license and registration. Doesn't say shit to me, takes my stuff, and then walks away. And I'm over there like freaking out. Like I immediately get on the phone. I call my mom and I'm like, "Yo, mom, something's going on. I'm getting pulled over. These cops are acting weird. Don't know what's going on. Yada yada yada." And after he did what he did, he came back and he was all nice and normal. Except when he gave me my stuff back, he said, "I hope you have a better day," as if to insinuate my day was going poorly before I met him. My day was fine, but that was just how it was just what he chose to say, which I thought was weird. But that's not the point. The point is that this exact scene happened in the movie. Brian had these expectations. I didn't. My expectations were like the old people. These cops were out to harass me, which is what kind of happened to me. Brian's take on it though was these cops are out there to do their job. They're there to protect us, and that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. Even though that happened to me, I understand that not all cops are bad. Someone watching this film who believes that and then sees this interaction, I'm not saying that they're going to automatically assume that all cops are bad, but to have such a negative interaction, even though it's false, even though it's fictional, depicted on a movie screen, they're going to remember that. And if they're white, it could make them uncomfortable and have them believe that all black people believe that cops act like this, even though that's not true. And then you have the black people that already sort of feel this way, saying, yep, that's how all cops are. And that's not true. And I don't know why that scene made it into the movie. And that scene was long. It was maybe 5 to 7 minutes worth of the movie, of them talking about how cops act, what cops do, and then to see it play out, and then Brian act all shocked, like, why is this cop acting like this? It's like, I don't know. It's like they were trying to convince the audience to change their perception on how they see the police and to see them in a negative light, like they're all out to get you, or they're mostly out to get you unless you are someone of a particular status, which is not necessarily true. Are there people like that on the force? Yes, there are. Because when he did give me my stuff back, I forgot. No, he did tell me that it was because he thought my tags were expired. When he ran my plates before he stopped me, he didn't know that. Because from my knowledge, talking to police in the past, if they run your plates, they can see if they're expired or not. So for him to say he ran my plates and thought they were expired, when he ran them, he should have realized that they weren't. And so I'm not sure if or why he would lie to me, but he did. I think the only reason why he pulled me over, if I'm going to be honest, was because I was black driving a nicer car in a bad neighborhood. I think that's the only reason. But that's not why we're here. We're not here to talk about real life. We're here to talk about the movie. And I honestly have nothing else to say. The acting in this film was piss poor. The only acting that you really saw was very brief, and that was from the older woman who got cheated on, who ended up coming out at the very end saying how bad her husband treated her, how much she actually hated him. And it just blew me away how she could be like a complete 180. Like at the beginning, it's sort of like a fuck you to the audience, where Tyler Perry sort of had them portrayed as a happy couple. Then, the whole idea of things behind closed doors will come to light. Well, that's what happened at the wake, and she talks about how bad he treated her, how bad he treated the kids when they were younger, yada yada yada, and how the kids were just oblivious to all of this. And she talked about how they were 8, 6, and like a newborn. When you're 8 years old, I don't know, maybe it's just to me, but you should remember how bad your dad treated you and your siblings. I have memories from being 4, but you know, that's just me. I don't know. I just felt like this film was cut and paste. It was like, have you seen like a magazine ransom note where it's put together, but you can clearly see different parts that they took from other places. That's how this film was for me. It was a huge disconnect. I didn't really connect with any particular scene. The statements, the points that were made, yes, I did, but the characters, I didn't relate to them. Medea herself was out of character. Joe was Joe, except for the N word. If I'm not mistaken, it's been in the more recent Tyler Perry films where you've got Tyler Perry using the N word. And when I say N word, I don't mean ER, I mean the one with the A. I didn't personally care for that. I felt like that just lowered and cheapened the film, but whatever. It is what it is. It's going on 17-minute video. I don't know. I've got nothing else to say. If you want to see it, go see it. I personally don't recommend it, and my mom herself told me she wouldn't recommend that movie to anybody. And that's saying something because she doesn't have my media background. So she doesn't see the dog whistle politics and some of the things that could be taken out of context relatively easily from this film.